unlike many other tropical countries, is hit with many neglected tropical diseases that, if not spoken about or dealt with harshly, will affect our gains when it comes to public health. And that is why we're going to be addressing this important topic, neglected tropical diseases. And I'm doing this with Bright Alomatu. He is the Deputy Chief Biomedical Scientist with Ghana Health Service at the Neglected Tropical Diseases Unit. Good morning, Bright.
Good morning.
So let's talk about the specific ones that Ghana Health Service is targeting in this particular month and many days to come. We're talking about onchocerciasis and elephantiasis. Tell us, what does it look like? How does one contract these two diseases?
Okay. These diseases are called neglected, largely because we don't pay so much attention to them. They affect the poor, those who live in rural areas, those that are very marginalized. They don't have political voice. Right. And the diseases themselves are neglected, largely also because risk perception of these diseases are very low, because people don't feel that they can get these diseases. So when you mention these diseases, people look very far from where they are. They think that it's out there somewhere, not close to where I am. Okay. And what doesn't affect you, you don't pay so much attention to. And therefore, people don't care so much about these diseases. And because they affect the poor, and most of them don't kill, but they exert so much disability that affects the ability of those people to produce, and therefore perpetuates the cycle of poverty in these areas. Lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis is transmitted by the very anomalous mosquitoes that we know. It's caused by a filaria worm that lives in the blood. They live in the lymphatic vessels, the adults, and then the young ones move in the blood, and the mosquitoes pick them and then give to other people. For the onchocerciasis too, the young ones live under the skin, and the black fly that is found most often where we have fast-flowing rivers, because the flies breed in the rivers, stones and stumps and other things that are found in the rivers. They lay their eggs on them, and they lay their eggs where the rivers flow very fast, and they hatch over there and the flies come out. And when they bite anybody that has the parasite under the skin, as they take the blood meal, they pick some of the worms, and then when they come to bite you, they give to you, and the worms will multiply in the person and then start exacting the effects that they produce in the human being. So onco, for instance, some of the symptoms are itching, some have rashes on the body, they itch and they scratch to the extent that the skin starts looking very terrible. They look quite whitey and rough, and we call it laser skin. And some too, as they scratch, they lose the pigment in the skin, and that skin depigmentation happens, and the skin looks like we have patches of like whites in between, and we call them leopard skin, because it looks like that of the So the effects are so much. And again, at this moment, what we are doing is that we are treating for onchocerciasis. For the elephantiasis, we did that one in June, and this time for the onco, there are certain areas that the prevalence is so high, and for those areas we treat twice in the year. So we did the first treatment in May and June, and this time we are doing the second round for the areas that have the prevalence being very high. And at this moment, within this week, we are also doing school deworming. We know the children are the most vulnerable. They play in the soil and they don't wash their hands well before eating. You know, worms, the eggs are most often found in the soil, and as they contaminate your food or water, you take in, they hatch in there, they get into you. And hookworm also hatches in the soil, but actively penetrates the skin, and you become infested. And we know all the effects of worm infestation. Yes, the person becomes weak, vomits, gets sick often, and most of these school children are even unable to attend school always. So absenteeism is high. They're unable to concentrate when they are teaching them. And the effects are many. And as we do the deworming, there is another disease that we deal with. It's also a type of worm, bilharzia.
Right.
That's one we get it when we enter into any water body that is infested with the young ones of the parasite, and they enter the skin, establishes in you, and they start laying their eggs. And it is the eggs of the bilharzia that causes the disease.
Right.
We have one that gets into the intestines. The intestinal ones, as they lay their eggs and the person is passing feces, the eggs have some spines on them. So as they are coming out, they scratch the lining, and then the blood will accompany whatever it is that you are bringing out. And then we have urinary schistosomiasis, and that one too, as you are passing urine and the eggs are contained in the urine, they scratch in there, make the cuts, and then you lose, yes.
Very well, but we're talking about treatment at this
Yes.
point in time, and we've done it over the years.
Yes.
I'm wondering if this form of management of the situation could be reduced, in the sense that will prevent the condition rather than treat. How far have we come, and how effective have the strategies been so far in trying to prevent rather than treat?
Yes, we've come a long way. For onchocerciasis, for instance, there were years that many people were getting blind as a result of the disease. There's a classical village in the Pro district of the Brong-Ahafo region that we call Esubende. It was so terrible that to a point about half the population were blind.
Wow.
And people started moving out of these
Away
places.
from there.
It was quite terrible. But since we started the implementation, these days we don't get new cases of blindness as a result of the onco, because we've been reducing the prevalence so much so that the effects are being reduced and we are not getting new blindness. If we talk about the deworming, years ago, worm infestation was so much to the extent that a child could cough and a worm could drop.
Right.
A child could be passing feces and you could see a hanging worm. And things were so terrible. Right. We've come a long way. If we talk about the elephantiasis, for instance, when we started the program in 2001, we had 98 districts that were endemic. And as we speak, we've been able to stop the spread of the disease in 83 districts. We are left with only 15. And we hope that in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to clear from there. So it's working, and it works.
Well. But the treatment campaign, how far have you gone, and when are you doing this? In which districts, in which areas, and how should someone know what to do, in the sense, what medication are you going to be giving them, and how do they take it?
Yeah. So for the school deworming, we've done the national training of trainers, regional level trainings. We work with Ghana Education Service, and we make sure that their system works. And giving medicines in schools is quite effective, because we are looking for these children, and most of them can be found in the schools.
There.
And teachers are very well educated. Once you give them the basic training that they require, they are able to give out the medicines.
Right.
Yes, so we've done all the trainings, and this week treatment is happening in 49 districts across the country. For Greater Accra, we have Ga West and Ga South. Central region, we have a Kumfi, Infantimai.
Well, 49 is a lot. I don't think you'll be able to mention all of it.
Yes, but
I'm
it's
sure
happening
they are
in all
aware.
the regions.
The areas where it's happening are well aware.
Yes.
So basically, at that point, what medication are you going to be giving them? Is it 1 drug, 2 drugs, 10? How do they take it?
Yes, for the deworming, we are giving albendazole and the praziquantel for schisto, albendazole for the intestinal worms. And for the areas that we are also doing onco treatment, they fall in 9 of the 10 regions. It's only Greater Accra that is not part. Yes, so what is happening is that social mobilization is ongoing. They are going around with mobile vans, making announcements and all. And for onco, we give ivermectin, and this one is given by height. Right. So it's between a tablet and 4 tablets. Praziquantel is also given by height. So we have measuring strips in all the schools, and then they mark the walls and then give them medicines.
And then with every drug, or most drugs, have side effects. Can you tell us some of the side effects so people are aware and they are not averse to taking the medication?
Yes, as you mentioned, yes, every medication has a possible adverse event. Yes, and these ones also have them. Some of the things that they experience could be headache, could be itching, some could be dizziness, some can vomit, some can feel weak. But there are systems in place to deal with them. And many of the people, majority of the people will not experience any sign. It's just a few, but when we are doing things on this scale, any slightest issue gets blown.
Right.
And therefore, we are mindful of what those things could be. And we have the systems in place. We've informed facilities that are around those places. So if it's at the school level, you inform the teacher, and then the teacher also, they are working with the health people.
Right.
They will refer you to the nearest health facility. They take care of you free of charge.
Finally,
you don't have to pay for them.
A last message, a take-home message from this whole campaign that Ghana Health Service is advocating for to make sure neglected tropical diseases burden is reduced.
Yes, so these diseases are there and they are exacting serious effects on the people. But we have the opportunity to prevent them. Okay. And let's all avail ourselves to this opportunity. Right. The medicines are coming to the people for free. You wouldn't have to pay for them. And for the on-call, the volunteers are even moving to your houses. Okay. The teachers in the schools are giving these medicines. And we have this opportunity. Right. And let's take advantage of it and then get good health.
Very well, on that note, I'm sure you've all heard him. Let's take good advantage of it to make sure we reduce the burden of neglected tropical diseases. I have been speaking to Bright Alomatu. He is the Deputy Chief Medical Scientist with Ghana Health Service at the Neglected Tropical Disease Unit.